Hey guys, this is Pablo from Happy Soup, and in this video I'm going to show how to download and run Happy Soup on Docker. So just to give a quick overview, many people have asked me how to run Happy Soup on their computers without having to install a lot of dependencies or having to ask IT for permission. And this is common especially on government orgs where it's not okay to use Happy Soup on the public domain because obviously there's data privacy issues, and some orgs also don't allow you to use your own deployment on Heroku, again because there's no certainty or on where the data is flowing in the Heroku data centers. So this option is good for those people who want to run Happy Soup locally without having to manage a lot of dependencies. So I'm going to do this from scratch in one of my orgs so that you can see the whole process. I haven't prepared this, so I'm just going to show exactly as I would do it on a brand new computer. And if anything goes wrong, you'll get to see how to fix that as well. So the first thing is I'm going to go to one of my orgs. And so Happy Soup can run on any org, but you need to have at least one org where you create a connected app. This is because Happy Soup connects to the Salesforce API using OAuth, and for that you need the credentials of a connected app. But what's important to understand is that this connected app can exist on literally any org that you want. It could be my org, it could be your production org, it could be a sandbox, it could be a developer org or like a Trailhead org. And it doesn't mean that you can only use Happy Soup on that org. That org is simply used to provide the authorization. But once the authorization is there, you're going to be able to use Happy Soup on any other org without having to repeat the steps here. So the first thing is I'm going to go to here under setup and go to apps. And I'm going to create a new connected app. So I'm just going to call this Salesforce Happy Soup. And I'm going to give my email there as a contact email. You can leave all these options blank, but you do need to tick this box of OAuth settings. Then on the available scopes, we're going to do API and these two as well, full and perform requests on your behalf. And I think that should be enough. Oh, and this one as well, your basic information. Okay, so literally that's it. You just create this thing and you click save. Now this will take 2 to 10 minutes to actually work. So I'm just going to pause the video for a second. But, oh, wait, as you can see, I need to put a callback URL. As I said, I'm not editing this video, I'm doing it live. So there you can see how things should be done. We need to specify a callback URL. In this case, you have to follow these steps or exactly use this callback URL. Otherwise, it's not going to work for you. So I'm just going to go to the GitHub repo here and find the one that we need to use because I don't remember the entire URL. So it's OAuth2/callback. Okay, so OAuth2/callback. So again, this is going to be the callback URL that you need to put on that connected app. HTTP localhost 3000 OAuth2/callback. If you put something else, then it's not going to work. So let's save this now and then click continue. Okay, so what happens is when you create a connected app and you get to this page, you're going to have a consumer key and a consumer secret. This is it's as powerful as a password, so you should keep it safe. In this case, I'm showing it to you on the screen because I'm going to delete this connected app later on, so it's okay. So once you have these two pieces of information, you need to keep them there because you're going to need them when you run Happy Soup. The next thing to do is to go to the GitHub repository, which is right here. And I will provide the URL on the video. So on the GitHub repository, if you go here to code, you can then copy this HTTPS URL, and this is the URL that you're going to need to clone the GitHub repository. So once you have copied that URL, I'm going to go over to my terminal here, and I have created this folder called Happy Soup Docker. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do git clone, and I'm just going to paste the URL there. And that's just going to clone the Happy Soup repository into a new folder called SFDC Happy Soup. So what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to open that in my Visual Studio Code. So let me see where that is here. So now what I have here is the Happy Soup repository that I just downloaded, or that I just cloned from the public repository. So once you're here, you don't need to do much with the files here. The one thing you need to do is you need to open this Docker Composite YAML. And this is essentially the file that has all the configuration for how to run the app. And the only thing that we need to do is we need to modify the client ID and client secret in both this area and this one to match what you just got from the connected app. So let's just go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go here to get the consumer key. The consumer key is also the same as the client ID, by the way. So I'm going to delete this one here. And that's my key. I'm also going to do it here. And then I need to get my secrets. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go and put it here. And here as well. Okay, so if I try to run this now, it's going to fail because, as you can see here, this will take 2 to 10 minutes to take effect. So like I said, I'll probably pause the video and come back in a few minutes. Now, what's important here is that for this to work, you do need to have Docker installed on your computer. And I'm not going to show how to do that just because there's a lot of tutorials online on how to do that. And it depends on the operating system you're using. In my case, I'm using Mac, and like I said, there are many tutorials, there are many videos on how to install Docker on your machine. So I'm just going to pause the video and I'll come back in a few minutes once 10 minutes have passed, and I'll show you then how to run Happy Soup. Okay, so 10 minutes have passed, so I think this is going to work now. So now that I'm here again in my Visual Studio Code, all I need to do is on the terminal here is run npm, actually what is it? Npm run DC build. DC means Docker Compose build. So you don't need to know the details of this, but essentially what it's going to do is it's going to build the application using the configuration that's on this configuration file. And here is going to use the secret and client ID from your connected app. Now, the first time you run this command, it might take a few minutes. For me, I've run it before in the past, so it might be a bit faster. Okay, so that's it. As you can see, what it did is it created the web application, it created a database, and it created a worker, and it's already there listening or waiting to work. So now I'm going to go over to my browser. And so now here in my browser, I'm going to go to localhost :3000. Now, if you get this, then Happy Soup is running on your computer. That's great. Now, this screen would show up even if you hadn't added the client ID and client secret here. So just because you see this screen, it doesn't mean that Happy Soup is actually ready to work. To see if it's ready to work, we need to log in. So I'm going to agree to the terms, and I'm going to log into one of my previous orgs here. And there you go. If you see this screen, then it means that the client ID and client secret have been configured correctly. So this is essentially Happy Soup asking permission to authorize through that org. Now notice that the org that I'm actually logging in here is not the same org that I used to create the connected app. And that's what I was telling you earlier. You can use any org to create a connected app. And that's just a one-step thing, a one-time thing. You just then put the details here, and you don't need to worry about that org ever again. You can use any other orgs. So I'm going to click allow here, and if everything went well, now I should be able to use Happy Soup on my computer. And as you can see, it's all running locally, and it's not actually running locally in your computer. It's on the virtual machine or virtual environment that Docker provides. So let's just see if that works. Yeah, it seems like it's working. So that's it. If you want to then kill the app, you just need to go back to your terminal and do Ctrl+C, and that's just going to kill the 3 applications there. And that's it. Congratulations, you have Happy Soup on your machine.